Tonight, an intruder fighting for life after a violent showdown at a fish and chip shop. Breaking news, Collingwood withdraws a contract for star player Jordan De Goey. A family left in limbo as cruel thieves steal a wheelchair van. Swimming's bombshell, transgender athletes banned from competing against women. The Fox family digs deep with an extraordinary gift to save lives. A big injury blow for the Tigers. And later, families turning to online butchers to beat price pain.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. An intruder is fighting for life after a break-in led to a violent confrontation. Witnesses claim the man was trying to steal from a fish and chip shop armed with a knife when a passerby took action.
The violent confrontation left the man with critical head injuries. Witnesses told 7 News he was hit with a baseball bat in the head and legs. His condition so bad he was flown to the Alfred Hospital. The homicide squad called in to investigate. An hour earlier, trouble flared. Witnesses say the man tried to use a piece of cement to smash in the front window of a takeaway shop in Corio.
Just some sort of banging and thumping.
They claim he was targeting donation tins on the counter and that he was confronted by a resident who tried to make a citizen's arrest. The vigilante is understood to have hit out when the man lunged at him with a knife. His actions now part of the police investigation.
The law does not allow a person to use the opportunity of seeing someone trying to break in to then inflict significant violence on them. Believe it or not, the law expects you to turn away and go and get help.
It's been a baptism of fire for the shop's new owners, this violent attack coming in their first week of trade.
The reasonable force should be equivalent to a no more than what has been done to you or to your property.
A 31-year-old Corio man was released from custody but could face charges. Tegan Dolling, 7 News.
There's breaking news on the Jordan De Goey saga tonight. Paul Dowsley is at Collingwood headquarters with the details. And Paul, it looks like the club has taken some action already.
Mitch, it's understood that over the weekend, as this latest controversy was unfolding, Collingwood actually withdrew a contract offer for Jordan De Goey to stay with the club for another 2 years with a salary of about $800,000 a year and an option to extend it by another 2 years. What's not yet clear, though, if that means whether Collingwood has actually withdrawn its contract offer altogether or whether it is considering a new one with a reduced salary. Collingwood players returned from their mid-season break without teammate Jordan De Goey.
He's not great, so there's obviously a fair bit going on.
The under-fire star staying well clear of the club after arriving home from his controversial Bali getaway. Why wasn't he training with you?
Ask him.
You don't know?
No.
What did you think when you saw the video?
I just think like, as a club we'll just deal with it when Geordie comes in, so I haven't really got too much more to say about it. So
do you think he deserves punishment?
Again, we'll just deal with it when he actually comes in.
The 26-year-old is believed to have flown back into Melbourne late last night, possibly facing Collingwood officials away from club headquarters today. His latest overseas drama heaping unwanted pressure on teammates.
Nah, not this morning. Sorry, dude. What are you doing here for?
I think he's unrecruitable now. No club with a straight face could explain to their senior players why you'd be offering $1 million to lure De Goey into your culture and your environment.
A Collingwood spokesperson says officials are still deciding the club's next move and whether to punish De Goey again. Have you spoken with him?
I have.
What'd you say?
It's between me and Geordie. Yeah.
You gave him advice?
Oh, it's just support for him. It was like, as a teammate, it was like you still got to be there for him.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
Heartless thieves have left a family in limbo after they stole the specially equipped van used to transport a wheelchair-bound teenager. The 14-year-old needs the van to get to school and medical appointments, but it was stolen in the middle of the night.
Without his wheelchair-accessible van, this bike is the only way Jude Tregaskis can get around.
It was a new way to come home today, wasn't it? Because you don't have your car.
The 14-year-old had a van specially fitted with a lift and wheelchair bay, but it was stolen from his Glen Huntly home this morning.
4:23, I heard this noise outside. Then the car was started. I peeked through the shutters and Jude's car was being driven out the driveway.
A neighbour's security camera captured the thieves speeding off down Hawson Avenue. By the time Jude's dad gave chase, they'd disappeared. Jude slept through the ordeal, but the reality of life without his van is starting to sink in.
This is not an ordinary car. This is a freedom machine for a 14-year-old teenager who is really a trailblazer in a lot of the things that he does.
Jude needs the van to get to the Royal Children's Hospital tomorrow, make his regular sessions with a physiotherapist, and to see his mates when the school holidays start on Friday. The family desperately hopes it won't need to replace Jude's vehicle. That would be a time-consuming and costly exercise, given Jude requires specialist equipment. Anyone who sees the van with registration 1PA3CF should contact police.
It's definitely not about punishment. We just want the car back. Please. It is no ordinary vehicle. It's not like we can go out and hire another car. It's not like we can go out and purchase another car. It just doesn't exist like that for him.
Jodie Lee, 7 News.
Australia's swimming stars are split on the sport's bombshell decision to effectively ban transgender athletes from competing in female races. The controversial call could change international sport forever and has been branded discriminatory by some.
American Leah Thomas, the swimmer that catapulted the issue of transgender athletes into the spotlight.
Thomas wins the NCAA championship.
Today, a ruling that locks her and other transgender swimmers out of major international events.
We have to protect the rights of all our athletes to compete. But we also have to protect competitive fairness.
The new policy requires male to female transgender athletes to have completed their transition by the age of 12, an effective ban. Swimming's world governing body voted on the issue in Budapest today, passing the policy with a majority of 71%.
It is my hope that young girls all around the world can continue to dream of becoming Olympic and world champions. It is also my hope that a young gender-diverse child can walk into a swimming club and feel the same level of acceptance.
But in a world first, FINA has proposed creating separate races in an open category for transgender competitors.
I do not want any talented athlete to be told that they are unable to compete.
It's divided opinion. Sporting group Athletic Ally called the decision discriminatory, harmful, unscientific. From Swimming Australia, we endorse a competitive environment that is fair and equitable for all athletes. We believe this new policy reflects that position. Individual countries can determine their own rules. Swimming Australia says it's working on a domestic policy. In London, Miley Hogan, 7 News.
A murder probe is underway after a man in his 20s was found dead inside his Mulgrave home. Police were called to the Baird Street property yesterday morning. A 23-year-old man from Narre Warren South is in custody. Detectives say the two men are known to each other. The new Home Affairs Minister has made a dash to Sri Lanka to address the rising number of refugees heading to Australia by boat. Hundreds of asylum seekers have been turned back in recent weeks as the Prime Minister cracks down on border security.
With more Sri Lankan asylum boats preparing to take the treacherous and ultimately futile voyage to Australia, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says the government might have changed, but the message has not.
People who arrive by boat will not be settled here. We will be strong when it comes to our borders.
2 plane loads of asylum seekers have been returned to Sri Lanka from Christmas Island in recent days, including several women and children, each having paid people smugglers up to ₹1,000,000, 4,000 Australian dollars, promised falsely that they'd be able to stay.
People smugglers seek to trade in misery.
and doing that now with desperate Sri Lankans hoping to escape an economic and humanitarian crisis, with prices of petrol and other staples skyrocketing and food in dangerously short supply in already poverty-stricken rural areas.
The best thing that they could do is get on a plane and go to Sri Lanka and deal with this.
Home Affairs Minister Claire O'Neill has done exactly that, arriving in Sri Lanka today, meeting with the President and Prime Minister tonight. The new minister will thank them for intercepting many of the boats and deliver $55 million in emergency aid, $23 million of it in development aid and $22 million for food supplies. It's understood all those returned to Sri Lanka were assessed by Border Force and found not to warrant protection under Australian law. Mark Riley, 7 News.
Clive Palmer's $100 million advertising blitz has helped the United Australia Party get a senator to represent Victoria in federal parliament. Ralph Babbitt was one of 6 successful candidates announced today. Sarah Henderson is the Liberals' only senator. Linda White and Yana Stewart were elected for Labor. Lydia Thorpe was re-elected for the Greens and Bridget McKenzie for the Nationals. It's been revealed that a Melbourne dad was ambushed by thieves aiming to steal his luxury car. They wanted the BMW to pay for drugs, but the robbery took a fatal twist.
Michael Mamoni was lured into a park, assaulted and left for dead. The Cranbourne dad targeted for his prized BMW because his attackers needed drugs. Christopher McEachran has pleaded guilty to manslaughter and armed robbery over the violent ambush after he and a female accomplice hatched a plan to steal his car. Mr Mamoni thought he was meeting with the woman at a Cranbourne park when he was overpowered by McEachran, who punched him and bound his hands before driving off in the BMW. The car thief later heard saying, "He was alive when I left." Mr Mamoni's body was found the next day, his hands still bound. His cause of death hasn't been determined, but prosecutors say McEachran was negligent when he abandoned the much-loved father of 3. There was no need to bind the deceased or leave him unattended. It's a serious example of manslaughter. A pathologist found Mr Mamoni had had a heart condition and drugs in his system at the time of his death. But Mr McEachran's lawyer said his client hadn't been aware of either issue when he decided to launch his attack. McEachran will be sentenced in August. Estelle Greeping, 7 News.
8 people, including a 62-year-old man, have been charged over a destructive attack on a Langwarrin mosque. Senior crime reporter Cameron Bowe has details on the breakthrough, and Cameron, police are confident this wasn't a hate crime.
Mitch, the group had been at a party on Saturday night at a property close to the mosque. Early on Sunday morning, a group of males broke into the mosque. Bikes were ridden in the prayer room and property was damaged. Now, it's understood on Sunday night, 2 males approached staff at the mosque seeking to apologise over the break-in. Shortly after that, 8 men were interviewed by police. One of them is aged 62, the others are teenagers. They've all been charged with burglary and trespassing. They've all been granted bail and will front the Frankston Magistrates Court in October, Mitch.
Cameron Bowe at Police Headquarters, thank you. The Fox family has made an extraordinary donation to save Victorian lives. Trucking magnate Lindsay and his wife Paula will pour in tens of millions of dollars for a dedicated melanoma cancer centre.
For Paula Fox, this isn't just philanthropy, it's personal.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, I'm a bit emotional.
As the Prime Minister, Premier and husband Lindsay watched on, Mrs Fox spoke of her own melanoma battle.
2 surgeries later and 45 stitches in my back, I am here today.
Knowing many don't survive, the Fox family has poured tens of millions of dollars into a new dedicated melanoma centre, which will be named in her honour.
Something she's felt strongly about. Whatever Paula wants, Paula gets.
The federal and state governments will contribute $50 million each.
Some 15,000 Australians will develop cancer from a melanoma this year.
Better research, better treatment, changing lives, saving lives.
The 5-storey facility, run by the Alfred Hospital, will care for 300 patients a day. A wellness centre, day therapy unit, research and clinical trial labs will be spread across 5 floors. Construction has already begun at the St Kilda Road site. The facility is expected to be complete and operational by 2024.
I am so proud and happy that in less 2 years from now, patients from all over Australia will be receiving the best care and benefits.
Chanel Vella, 7 News.
Legendary sports commentator Bruce McAvaney has been honoured on TV's Night of Nights. The Logies returned after a 3-year hiatus, giving our stars of the small screen an overdue chance to celebrate.
The stars weren't just shining, they were sparkling.
I've just got like a sensory overload.
I mean, it's television's Night of Night, so you've got to bring it.
The Gold Coast rolling out the red carpet for the much-loved faces of the small screen.
I'm like a T-model Ford in a mob amongst a mob of Ferraris, you know, they're all hot shots.
Ready for a party 3 years in the making. Insults were exchanged.
Thanks, you trash bag.
And gongs up for grabs.
Home and away.
Seven's Tokyo Olympics team took out Most Outstanding Sports Program on a very special night for Bruce McAvaney, inducted into the Logies Hall of Fame.
And I'm so grateful to have had the privilege to be there as it happens and to tell you about it.
But in a room full of famous faces, one was missing.
Isn't he fabulous? I mean, what am I going to do without him?
Patty Newton given a standing ovation before announcing an award named in Bert's honour.
This is a crazy honour. It's too big an honour, I think.
And the honours didn't end there for Hamish.
Hamish!
Awarded the coveted gold Logie at the end of a long night. The class of 2022 partied well into the night. On the Gold Coast, a matter of 8, 7 News.
A star tiger is set for shock surgery. Tim Watson, he'll go under the knife tomorrow.
He will, Mitch. It's a brutal blow for Richmond. Let's head straight to Chief Football reporter Tom Brown at Punt Road. And Tom, Trent Cotchin is heading for surgery.
Tim, few noticed Trent Cotchin's injury last Thursday. He was in the rehab group this morning, as you can see. The reason revealed by the Tigers this afternoon, it was this rather innocuous incident with Jack Martin in the third quarter. Cotchin with a fractured clavicle, which is essentially the collarbone. It requires a plate and surgery, and he'll at least miss the Richmond captain this blockbuster game this weekend against Geelong. However, 2 superstars, Dustin Martin and Patrick Dangerfield, are both expected to return. I'll have more from Punt Road shortly in sport, Tim.
Thanks, Tom. We'll check back in with you soon. Also ahead, 2 Demons bad boys are set to begin their road to redemption against the Lions. Jordan De Goey, not the only one absent from Magpies training today, the latest on Steel Sidebottom's fitness fight. And Mitch, a fresh setback that will sideline a Dog star. More on that shortly.
OK, Tim, we'll see you soon. Thank you. A shocking hit-run case has taken a new turn. Next on 7 News, a driver surrenders 3 days after a little boy was left injured. The details live. Also, the Piano Man heading to the MCG, but the cost to taxpayers? That's a secret. What happened to a young woman just days away from giving birth? A plea to end 13 years of mystery. And the staggering $25 million bill to fly the Aboriginal flag on Sydney Harbour Bridge. Cold case detectives say they're confident they know who called mum-to-be Crystal Fraser before she disappeared at Pyramid Hill in 2009. The 42nd call was made from a phone box outside the Litchfield post office.
Police believe that the person who made that phone call at 11:59 is either involved or has good knowledge in relation to what happened to Crystal.
Today marks 13 years since the 23-year-old woman went missing. She's believed to have been murdered. Detectives have made a major breakthrough in the hunt for an alleged hit-run driver accused of leaving a little boy badly injured on the side of the road. Rochelle Brown has the latest from the Royal Children's Hospital. Rochelle, the woman is set to be charged.
Mitch, the 51-year-old has just been released, but she's expected to be charged with multiple offences including failing to remain at the scene of an accident. 5-year-old Angus was crossing Mundy Street in Geelong with his 8-year-old brother on Friday afternoon when he was struck by a small silver car. It's alleged the driver stopped briefly and then drove off as bystanders cared for the boy. The woman was arrested at her Geelong home around midday. Police also seized her car, which will now be forensically examined. The 5-year-old boy remains here at the Royal Children's Hospital. He's in a stable condition tonight. Mitch?
Rochelle Brown at Parkville, thank you. Music legend Billy Joel is heading to Melbourne to boost our COVID-devastated live music industry, but at a cost to taxpayers. The state government helped lure the piano man here for an event dreamed up by the late Michael Gudinski.
70,000 in the mood for a melody will pack the MCG for the Piano Man's one-off concert.
It's been a really long time since I've been there. I'm really looking forward to coming. I'm bringing the whole family.
For all aspects of the industry to have shows of this scale is what we need to get back on track.
But to get Billy Joel and his entourage of 60 here for just one show?
I don't think there would be any change from $5 million.
Taxpayers will help an undisclosed but sizable state government contribution.
We wouldn't see shows like this in our state or coming to the country if it wasn't for that support.
Joel played the MCG in 1998 with Elton John. Such was his bond with late entrepreneur Michael Gudinski, he sent a message to his state memorial.
I'm going to miss Michael.
Gudinski's son Matt will feel his dad's spirit here on December 10th.
I know he'd be very proud that we've been able to bring the show to life. It'll be a proud and emotional evening.
Nick McCallum, 7 News.
New South Wales Premier Dominic Perrottet has admitted he will have to reassess costings for a new Sydney Harbour Bridge flagpole. The government committed $25 million to its construction to make the Aboriginal flag a permanent fixture.
Have expert advice. The Premier's raised some questions about that expert advice.
And I'll be sitting down and going through line by line.
Industry experts say the new mast could be installed for less than half that sum. Jane Bunn joins us now with the weather. And Jane, there was a hint of warmth earlier today.
Mitchell, we have just experienced our warmest day in nearly a month. When you were out in the sun and out of the wind, it actually felt quite pleasant. The city rose to 17.7. The most outstanding suburb today was Moorabbin. It was 19.6 early this afternoon. But cloud thickened late afternoon and our dry break is nearly over. We have wintry weather returning tonight. I'll have the full details on all of this approaching after sport, Mitch.
Here we go again. Thanks very much, Jane. Our schools are taking extreme steps to deal with a growing problem with children as young as 12. The details are next on 7 News. Also, Australia's travel rush, $46 million in a month, but the cost of flying is soaring. And snake venom to the rescue as a lifesaver in trauma cases. There has been an alarming rise in the number of revenge pornography attacks. Reports to Australia's E-Safety Commissioner have almost doubled in the past year. Young people are most at risk, with 60% of victims aged between 13 and 24.
We've taken on 1,000 reports from young Australians experiencing image-based abuse. And as you can imagine, it's an incredibly distressing situation.
E-Safety has released a campaign aiming to educate young people about the risks. Victorian schools are going to extreme measures to stop an alarming rise in the number of students vaping. New technology is being used in bathrooms to reduce the harmful trend.
Melbourne schools are worried about a sharp increase in students vaping.
It's a really serious issue.
We certainly knew that was the case in our school population. Students, parents and staff were concerned about all of the chemicals that were being inhaled by students.
They're now cracking down to catch culprits out with vape detectors inside bathrooms and cameras outside the toilets.
College leaders are informed by email that vaping has taken place, and then we're able to look at cameras, which is to identify which students have entered toilet blocks at particular points in time.
There may not be anyone available at that particular time, but it's certainly followed up as close to the incident as we possibly can.
There are calls to install detectors in all Victorian schools, but the state government says while it can be a deterrent, studies show the sensors don't work and students will just find somewhere else to vape.
If we can do some things at schools to stop it, then yeah, let's try it.
This is a bit of a band-aid solution to be able to detect kids who are doing the wrong things. We actually need to cut this problem off at the knees and really work on the retailers. They know they're selling these things illegally to kids.
The instances of vaping have dramatically decreased since we've installed vape detectors.
We certainly found that the system works.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
If you're planning a post-lockdown holiday overseas, be prepared to pay more than ever. Australians are flocking to exotic destinations, but fuel costs and flight limits are making it an expensive exercise.
Since the recent easing of entry requirements, more Australians have been jetting off. These on the well-trodden path to Bali.
Australians are now back travelling internationally, all the way back to where we were in pre-COVID.
In May, Aussies forked out $46 million on international flights, accommodation, car rental, cruises, trains, tours and travel agents. The highest monthly spend on overseas travel in 3 years, and $3 million more than in May 2019. The soaring demand comes despite prices heading sky high. Airline chiefs are pointing to factors beyond their control. Alan Joyce saying, our fuel bill next year will be $1.8 billion more than it was before COVID. Airfares will have to go up with the oil prices. But
there's also a lot of planes not back in the sky. So
many still grounded, while others, like this Qantas A380, are being dismantled for spare parts. And it's not just flights.
Hotels, I think this 40-50% increase in pricing is going to be around for a little while.
Prices are expected to stay high for the next few months. Travellers able to pay top dollar by dipping into their savings or spending loyalty points. There are still some deals around, but not enough to satisfy demand.
Later this year, probably the fourth quarter, we probably will see a bit of an easing, probably around October, November.
Gemma Acton, 7 News.
Overseas, a 15-year-old has been shot dead at a festival in America's capital. Crowds were seen fleeing as the gunman opened fire. 3 adults were also hit, including a policeman shot in the leg. Officers had already moved in to shut down the outdoor concert after reports of a fight. Venom from some of the world's deadliest snakes could soon save thousands of lives by stopping uncontrolled bleeding. Australian researchers are using it to create a potent gel that can seal wounds in a minute.
Some snakes can kill in less than half an hour, but a special mix of their deadly venom can actually save lives.
The snake has evolved this over billions of years to be really very, very efficient.
Queensland researchers found a combination of venom from saw-scaled vipers and Australian eastern brown snakes can speed up blood clotting and prevent clot breakdown, stopping uncontrolled bleeding within a minute.
And we're seeing up to 5-fold reduction in blood loss after injury and 3-fold faster clotting times.
Scientists are creating an extremely potent gel to be sold in pharmacies and added to first aid kits.
We could take a fraction of a grain of sand in each wound and it will clot the wound.
It could even be used on shark bites or military personnel injured in combat.
Because 90% plus of soldiers in the field die not because of the wound, but because they actually bleed to death.
Scientists are also exploring if the gel can be used to treat burns. They hope to begin human clinical trials in 18 months.
Current products to control bleeding aren't good enough, and we have a product that we think can really change those outcomes.
And reduce the 40% of deaths caused by blood loss. Crystal Etherington, 7 News.
The number of online butchers is surging as Victorian families look for new ways to cut costs. Next on 7 News, delivered direct for less. Also, councils facing a backlash over rubbish. And the new dementia clue that's hidden in the eyes. City of Yarra residents say they're fed up with rubbish piling up on their streets. General waste bins are now only collected every fortnight, with recycling still weekly. But the local council won't pick up rubbish which isn't correctly sorted.
What happens when there's contamination is that we'll put a sticker on people's bins and they need to remove that contamination, and then we'll collect the bin after that.
We see crows in the bins pulling the rubbish out, gutters full of waste, which is then washed down into the waterways.
The City of Yarra says there hasn't been an increase in the number of complaints. Police are hunting a pair of crawling thieves over a Gisborne crime rampage. The men broke into 3 businesses, including 2 cafes and a hair salon, stealing cash. They got away in a Ford Ranger ute, but their attempts to stay low enough to hide from the cameras failed. Australia's share market has dipped further, with fears skyrocketing energy costs will create a global recession. Here's finance editor Gemma Acton.
Thanks, Peter. Well, it looked like we could have started this week on the right foot, but early enthusiasm soon faded and the ASX 200 has ended the day 41 points lower at 6,433. Energy stocks slumped following a fall in oil prices heading into the weekend. After dropping by 30% last week, Bitcoin is still at an 18-month low, while iron ore prices have sold off sharply. That's on worries over slowing global growth. Meantime, the proportion of Australian drivers who plan to buy an electric vehicle has leapt over the past year, according to the investment bank UBS. No doubt partly thanks to the sharp run-up in petrol prices. Peter.
Gemma Acton reporting. Melbourne scientists have their eye on the early detection of dementia. A new study has revealed the thickness of a patient's retina could indicate their risk of developing the disorder decades before symptoms appear. Researchers hope they may eventually be able to use eye scans for early diagnosis. The business of online butchers is thriving as Victorian families look to save costs on their weekly shopping bill. They're cutting out the middleman, buying direct from farmers.
Eating like a king for less.
Maybe like a 20% saving? Yeah.
Online butcher The Meat Box delivers prime cuts at wholesale prices direct to your door. The company buys from Australian abattoirs, cutting and packing the aged meat themselves and passing on the savings.
You can shop around and you can order online like this. You can save a lot of time and you can also save a lot of money.
Here, premium mince is $9.99 a kilo. Elsewhere, you could pay double. This family meat box is $150, delivered free.
We've got some customers that'll share with their neighbours.
Since this time last year, the price of beef has risen almost 9%, lamb 6.7%, poultry over 4% and pork 3.6%. Farmers have been hit hard too. Bushfires, drought and flood almost bankrupted Bianca Tarrant. Now she sells organic, free-range meat direct from the paddock to the plate.
We support hundreds of farmers. We deliver to thousands of homes all across the country.
Mrs. Tarrant's farm saved by the public's growing appetite for meat subscriptions.
You can do it from the comfort of your own home. It's super convenient, the quality is amazing and people love it.
Meat lovers are encouraged to compare prices and quality in store and online for the best deals. Jackie Quist, 7 News.
Sport is next with Tim Watson and Tim. Rival clubs are keeping a close watch on Jordan De Goey.
They are. Mitchie's contract has become a hot topic. We'll be live next with fresh details on why the club let him go to Bali. Also, how Stephen May is fighting his way back into the Demons side for a top-of-the-ladder clash. A welcome sight for the Tigers as Dusty gets back on track. The latest live from Punt Road. More pain for the Bulldogs with a fresh setback for Tim English, plus extreme commitment on show in the States. Welcome back. New details have emerged about why Collingwood let Jordan De Goey head overseas for his mid-season break. Returning to Chief Football reporter Tom Brown. And Tom, you can reveal 2 other Magpies were also in Bali.
Tim, Collingwood were aware of De Goey's trip to Bali, partially comforted by the fact that two sensible, smart players, super sensible and smart players, were also on their own separate trip together in Bali, Darcy Moore and Jamie Elliott. Now, they didn't travel with Jordan, weren't with De Goey, and were both back from a successful trip at training today. Collingwood don't have an issue with De Goey's trip to Bali. The issue is his guarantee post-New York to the club and obviously his behaviour on that video. De Goey's now got a $3.2 million plus problem tonight. No current contract offer from Collingwood and no interest from clubs I've sampled, from rival clubs, who would now need probably board approval to offer any type of medium or long-term deal, which is quite unlikely at this point. Separately tonight, Tim, good news from Punt Road. Dustin Martin back at the club this morning after his flu last week and also a brief personal trip to Sydney 2 weekends ago. Dustin expected to play, I'm told, this weekend, as is Patrick Dangerfield. He's done some high-intensity sessions and after a break and getting his fitness up, I'm told is ready to be selected for this weekend, Tim.
Thanks, Tom. Demon duo Stephen May and Jake Melksham are both expected to return for Thursday night's top-of-the-table clash against the Lions. It comes 2 weeks after the brawl that threatened to derail the club's hopes of going back-to-back.
Melbourne has been lost without Stephen May down back, but even after 3 straight defeats, the defender had to fight to regain his spot.
He's trained outstandingly well. He's really keen on building the trust back with the playing group and putting his best performances on field and leading like he does on field to a really high level.
Jake Melksham is also available after 2 rounds of surgery on a hand infection suffered after the altercation with May.
He's done a fair bit of work in the last sort of 6 or 7 days and he'll be ready to go.
Luke Jackson will take on ruck duties in the absence of Max Gawn. Former Roo Majak Dor won't be called into the side as backup.
Majak won't be available. He's got a partial pec tear that he did a couple of weeks ago, so he's probably 4 weeks away from being back available to play.
Hawks, Mitch Lewis and Jack Gunston are set to return from injury. Captain Ben McAvoy hit the track without a neck brace and still hopes to return this season.
His commitment to get back is unbelievable and sets a great example for the rest of our players. Certainly it's looking more positive by the week as he gets through more training.
Collingwood veteran Steele Sidebottom didn't train today. 7 News understands he had a cortisone injection in his foot after the Pies Queen's birthday victory. While ruckman Brodie Grundy is finally back running almost 2 months after suffering a knee injury. Suns defender Will Powell will miss the rest of the season. He underwent surgery on his dislocated and fractured ankle.
And Tim, the Bulldogs are counting the cost of their win over GWS. Ruckman Tim English will miss the clash against Hawthorn with delayed concussion. His history of head knocks means he's also in doubt for round 16 against the Lions. Forward Cody Waitman has been cleared of any bone damage on his dislocated elbow, but he remains a test for Friday, while Taylor Duray will miss the next 2 months with a medial ligament injury to his knee. Tim?
Thanks, Nat. To golf now, and Matthew Fitzpatrick held his nerve to match some rare golfing history at the US Open. Coming into the last with a 1-shot lead at the Brookline Country Club, he nailed this shot from the fairway bunker.
Oh, and he made good contact. What a pressure shot. Big time clutch shot by Fitzpatrick.
Will Zalatoris had a putt to force a playoff and grazed the cup. That meant the 27-year-old joins Jack Nicklaus as the only other player to win the US Amateur and Open at the same course. He's just the 4th Englishman to win a major in the last 50 years. Australia has gone down by 6 wickets in the third one-dayer in Sri Lanka. The tourists couldn't capitalise on winning the toss and batting first in Colombo. Aaron Finch fell to a screamer on 62.
What a catch, brilliantly caught. There's the turn again from the wrist spinner. A wonderful catch.
Travis Head's unbeaten 70 helped the Aussies reach 6 for 291. It was Sri Lanka's highest ever winning run chase against Australia. They lead the series now 2-1. Triple Olympic gold medalist Kaylee McKeon bypassed her pet event, the 100 backstroke, to take on the 200 medley at the World Championships in Budapest.
Silver to McEwen. It's a world junior record to Hayes in taking the bronze.
McEwen says she was surprised to snare silver behind America's Alex Walsh. The 20-year-old may add the event to her program for Paris 2024. Daniel Ricciardo finished just out of the points in 11th at the Canadian Grand Prix. Yuki Tsunoda's crash livened up the race, but it didn't stop Max Verstappen from charging to his 5th win of the season.
Max Verstappen comes home in first place. Carlos Sainz pushed him all the way.
The reigning world champion leads the Drivers' Championship by 46 points. Now, we all love a classic baseball catch from fans in the crowd. Even better if they're a player. Check out this incredible effort.
A long way to go to the line. Oh, man! Blake Robertson makes the catch. Are you kidding me?
The dugout fence proved a challenging obstacle, but the Oklahoma fielder didn't back down, Mitch. That is commitment.
Keep your eye on the ball, that's certainly right. And how about the AFL fixture this weekend? It looks like there's 4 mini-finals there.
No, it's unbelievable. All the top 8 sides play against each other this weekend, so they're probably 8-point games for those teams this weekend. Tipster's nightmare.
September comes early. Thank you very much indeed, Tim. Jane is next with the forecast. And Jane, how is it looking tomorrow?
Well, Mitch, we'll be back to wintry weather at first, then sunshine returns. Then we're in for a bit of a roller coaster. The full details are next.
Hello. Tonight on the latest from 7 News, what energy crisis? The one state that's the envy of the East Coast. We speak to the architect of Western Australia's masterstroke gas plan, plus the reason airlines are struggling as Australians rush overseas and why this baby's unique doll had her mum in tears for a week. That's tonight on the latest from 7 News.
You have to be there.
Tragic 48 hours on our roads.
Brace for higher energy bills.
7 News at 6 o'clock.
Hello again. After our warmest day since May 25th, the temperature's about to tumble once again. The city reached a top of 17.7, Moorabbin nearly 20. Nice out of the wind in a mix of sun and cloud. But that cloud thickened late afternoon as this is now coming in from the west. At first, it's actually lighter than it looks on the radar here as the air has dried out thanks to a northerly wind. But all of that precipitation will increase later this evening. Bands of showers across the far west of the Wimmera and southwest before approaching central parts and the Mallee. It was relatively warm ahead of that wet weather, but once it hits, temperatures drop. High pressure brought our 3-day break, but cold fronts have been crossing the Bight, and this one here will be pushing through Victoria tonight and tomorrow. There is a short break to follow under a ridge of high pressure before another cold front follows to end the week. So these bands of showers will spread through overnight and tomorrow. They bring in colder air, with rain gradually turning to snow up in the Alps. It does clear eastwards during the day tomorrow in Melbourne, all over around lunchtime. Then there is a weak trough that brings a little more to the west later on. There's nothing heavy in the days that follow, and it thaws out a little until the next cold front on Friday. Again, all these showers pushing through, turning to snow up in the Alps as temperatures fall once again. Then we'll have another cold front come through on Sunday, potentially another one next Tuesday too. So the week ahead goes up and down, so it's not the persistent chill that we had earlier in June. Around the nation tomorrow, top of 22 in Brisbane in bright sunshine. It's 20 in Sydney, dry all day before showers at night. Those showers reach Canberra in the late morning and afternoon, so a top there of only 12. Showery in Hobart, mainly in the morning. In Adelaide, it's dry during the day before light showers redevelop later. And Perth has just a light shower in the morning. To Victoria, widespread showers. They're gradually clearing eastwards with sunshine to follow before lighter showers return to the southwest and Wimmera later. Northerly winds are turning westerly behind the front. They are breezy to locally strong. Closer in, wet overnight and into the morning, 2 to 20 millimetres. So in the west, that's 2 to 5 millimetres. In the east, I'm expecting about 10 to 20, so big difference from west to east. It does clear eastern suburbs early afternoon and there's sunshine to follow. So the city has lots of showers overnight and into the morning. They should dry up around lunchtime and it rises to 15 in that afternoon sunshine after a fairly chilly and wet morning. To the 8-day outlook, we're taking a break on Wednesday and Thursday. Generally dry, just the slight chance of a brief shower, and they're falling mainly overnight. Temperatures rise back up again. We'll be back up to 17 by Thursday, and in a mix of sun and cloud, it'll feel a little bit like what we had today. But the next cold front comes through in the early hours of Friday, temperatures plummet once again, lots of showers passing through. Break Saturday, more of these on Sunday, break Monday. But chilly weather does come in and there could be further showers coming in next Tuesday. So wet overnight and into the morning tomorrow, lots of showers passing through, but it all clears up. We've got sunshine return in the afternoon. It'll be 15, Mitch.
Overall, pretty good.
Yeah, not bad.
Happy with that. Thank you very much, Jane. Now, here's what's on Sunrise tomorrow.
Thanks, Mitch. Tomorrow on Sunrise, win the ultimate outback adventure across the top end.
Plus, see why the world's biggest stars swear by the celebrity sleep doctor. His tips to get back to sleep when you keep waking up in the middle of the night.
See you in the morning, Melbourne.
And that's the way it is this Monday, the 20th of June. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.